Liz Truss's mini-budget crashed the pound, hiked mortgage costs, and it's now brought down her chancellor. But who's really to blame for the wacky ideas that detonated a bomb under her premiership? Well, at the time of the mini-budget, there were a number of think tanks more than willing to take credit. The Centre for Policy Studies said this: "Great to see so many CPS policies included in today's announcement by the Chancellor." And then they cite cancelling corporation tax rise, the stamp duty cut, low tax investment zones, and reversing the national insurance rise. The Adam Smith Institute, for their part, said this: "We are incredibly encouraged to see so many pro-growth policies announced by Kwasi Kwarteng in the mini-budget, many of which we have advocated for over many years." And then the Institute for Economic Affairs, or at least their director, had this to say: "If this was the Chancellor's mini-budget, I look forward to the maxi-budget." That is a statement which has aged very well. Of course, there will be no maxi-budget from Kwasi Kwarteng because the mini-budget tanked his career. The IEA, so the Institute of Economic Affairs, have come under particular focus because a number of its former staffers are in close contact with Truss and Kwarteng, or are physically in their top teams, or were in Kwarteng's top team. Tim Montgomery, the founder of the Conservative Home website, went so far as to say this of the mini-budget: "A massive moment for the IEA," he says. "They've been advocating for these policies for years. They've incubated Truss and Kwarteng during their early years as MPs. Britain is now their laboratory. The laboratory has now blown up." So, given the chaos these think tanks have caused, many have begun to question what interests might lie behind their disastrous ideas. And this week, one of their spokespeople was taken to task on LBC.
So you want planning reform. Who's funding your research on planning reform?
I have no idea, but we do have a Who Funds You page if anyone is interested in looking.
Does it give much detail?
Gives a little bit of detail, yes. What you need to know.
What do you think we need to know?
I don't know, really. What would you like to know?
Well,
would you like a list of every single donor from the beginning in 1955?
No, but most think tanks do provide lists of the donors they get each year. And
actually, not really.
Yours doesn't.
Actually, not really, including left-wing think tanks as well.
Like who?
Well, I don't think Oxfam, for example, as a charity.
Is that a think tank?
A charity. We're an educational charity. So on that basis, I don't.
You can't really liken the IEA to Oxfam, can you?
We're an educational charity. There are different types of charity, of course, with different aims and different ways of making a difference.
Adam, what would you like to know?
Educational charity.
Well, the agenda that Liz Truss has been pushing in her mini-budget, shrink the size of the state and fund in order to get big tax cuts. That's an agenda that organisations like the Institute for Economic Affairs have been pushing for years, including at Conservative Party conference, where they host a lot of events with ministers and where they boast that Liz Truss has been one of their most regular attendees at. And so I think it does matter who funds these organisations, because often people from these organisations appear, quite rightly on programmes like this, and there isn't the question of who is actually funding the positions, that funding the research.
Is your accusation with me sitting on this panel that somehow what I am saying is paid for? Because that is incredible. It's no surprise that someone who believes in free markets in general might wish to work for a think tank that also believes in that. And it's no coincidence that a politician like Liz Truss might be more interested in the Institute of Economic Affairs than she would be with a left-wing think tank.
Emily, if you're not paid to say what you're saying, that only makes it more embarrassing. My ideas crash the economy. And more than that, we did it all for free. No one told us to say what we said. We crashed the economy of our own accord. Let's look at some more of that exchange.
That's how things work. And the reason why we protect the privacy of our donors, because places like the Byline Times would go after them. Right? People are allowed their privacy. It's a right. It's interesting if we look at Byline Times' shareholders. They're not so squeaky clean, are they, either? Max
We're paid for
Mosley, is it?
No. We are paid for by our subscribers.
We're entirely funded by our subscribers. Actual fascist.
We're entirely paid for by our subscribers. And people can look at who our shareholders are, and people can, and we put our subscribers on the front of our newspaper. People can't look at the IEA and see who funds them.
They can see a breakdown. They can see a breakdown. Some of our donors.
There is no real breakdown on the website.
Say where they're from.
Misleading listeners by suggesting there is. Nobody can go on your website and see who funds your organisation.
You can see where proportionately the spending comes from, the donations come from.
What does that mean, proportionally? What does that mean? Can people go on your website?
Fundamentally, we protect the privacy of our donors.
So they can't?
They can look at the proportion, and also some of our donors do express that openly.
So Emily Carver wasn't particularly persuasive there, but nonetheless, I did take her advice and I went to the Who Funds Us section of the IEA website. This is what you find there. So you can see a 2018 breakdown of fundraising for UK activity. You can see that 14% comes from large businesses, 37% comes from wealthy individuals, and we got a little bit of money from events and conferences. Book sales get 4%, and foundations and trusts give them 28%. So you can see most of it, the majority, is coming from large businesses and wealthy individuals. And it's not really much use if we're talking about vested interests and what conflicts of interest they might have to just know that rich people fund them. We need to know which rich people. We need to know what interests these wealthy people and these businesses have. Otherwise, there's nothing transparent about that. Oh yeah, we're very transparent. We tell you we're funded by rich people. Which rich people? Aaron, what's your take on the IEA's takeover of Britain? We've all been living in their laboratory for the past 5 weeks, I suppose, although I suppose the Queen's death interrupted it. Maybe the past 3 weeks. It hasn't gone very well, has it?
It's been an absolute disaster class, Michael, much like that interview or that panel conversation. And it was really funny when she said to Adam Bienkov, well, actually, you're funded by Mosley and you're funded by, well, yeah, you know that because that data's there in the public domain. Mosley has given money, I believe, to Byline in the past. Not Oswald Mosley, Max Mosley, his son, who's since passed away. And you can find that disagreeable. Great. And credit to Byline Times, they tell you about it. So I think that's quite significant. It is a problem, and you have to follow the money in these things. And if you think it's not a serious issue, then you don't really understand the intersection of media and politics.
What's bizarre about the IEA and Taxpayers Alliance and all those organisations is when you meet them on television, you're like, these are really odd people. It seems
really
like
strange.
Really strange people. But then, and you think, so long as they're all, closeted up in Tufton Street, which is where Taxpayers Alliance, IEA, all of these, Adam Smith Institute, all they are, like, fine, we've got these. It's annoying that they get invited onto Question Time and they get invited onto all of these mainstream programs, given that they're, dark funded organizations and are always advocating mad stuff. Like, that was annoying enough. Now, they're all in Downing Street. So all of these like weirdos that you used to bump into in TV studios, they are now literally running the country. And guess what happened? We put them in charge of the country and everything collapsed within the space of 3 weeks. So I do think if there was ever a time for them to reveal who's funding them, it would be now.
Participating in politics and trying to shape public opinion and trying to influence affairs of state, which affect the lives of tens of millions of people. Austerity killed, now we know, 300,000 people. We had 300,000 excess deaths because of austerity. Policy ideas matter. The idea that you can play that game for the highest possible stakes and you're not going to tell people who's funding you is absurd. It is absurd. And if you're going to do that, and if you're not going to disclose who is allowing you to continue to operate as an organization, you should not be on the BBC or Channel 4 or LBC or ITV or Sky News or anywhere. That's my perspective on this, because like I say, you're playing at the highest possible stakes at the top table when it comes to British politics. And if you're going to do that, and you're entitled to, by the way, wealthy people are entitled to participate in politics and lobby in their interests. Of course they are. We should know they're doing it rather than this sort of Machiavellian deception. Oh, the IEA, yes, we're very accountable. We're funded by rich people. We won't tell you which ones. Come on. And I think, by the way, Michael, we've talked about the IEA. We mock them, and the Adam Smith Institute and the Taxpayers Alliance and all the panoply of organisations at Tufton Street, 55 Tufton Street. Yes, we criticise them and we lambast them, rightly so. We should also do the same, by the way, to the BBC and Sky News and ITV. Don't platform these people until they are open and accountable about who funds them. And if you continue to do this, in spite of them not disclosing that information, then you are also part of the problem.